conversation hosted by CJ Abernathy for South Dakota District 23 Senate 2020. A father, a Marine Corps combat veteran of Iraq and Afghanistan, Purple Heart recipient, with a bachelor's degree in information technology software engineering. CJ is a podcast producer and host. Please check out our social media pages for more information. If you would like to join this broadcast, click the link in the description to join. Coffee and a conversation starts now. Have a good day or don't, the choice is always yours.
Morning. Oh, good morning. Good. Is that the adjective of your day? Good. Good morning. Good. What does it mean to be good? Do we have a definition of good? Can we just Google what the word good means? That way we can all start this morning on the same, at least same page. Good. Define. To desired or approved of, having the qualities required for a particular role. That which is morally right, righteous, benefit or advantage to someone or something. Well, now, before we get into obviously the crazier thoughts of the day from my brain noodle, I just thought that it would be behoove us to just start with a simple word, for the slower people in the back, the ones that, just don't seem to get it. They're just not good enough to understand. They're not fit for this certain role to understand why I am having to break it down elementary school style for people. Ugh. Anyways, this is an open discussion. So if you'd like to join, I guess I forgot to put the link in the description, didn't I? That's okay. Do that real quick, even while live. You might have to back out and refresh. So give it a second here. Click the link to join. So, like I said, I would refresh if you're interested in joining this morning, and go from there. Ah, crap. That's not bueno. I did that backwards this morning here. Okay, let's try this again. Click the link to join. Why aren't you working now? Hello. There we go. And go ahead. Copy that. Paste that. We'll paste that. Alright, in YouTube it's below the screen. And on Facebook it's on top of the screen. So like I said, this is what we call an open discussion. And meaning anybody can join the broadcast here this morning if you're seeing the link. If you want to join, it'll bring you backstage. I guess it's having an issue over there on YouTube at the moment. It says, this is usually temporary. Wait for a moment and try again. Lovely. This is why you do stuff beforehand. Damn. An error has occurred over on YouTube. I don't even know if I'm live on YouTube, to be honest, or which platform I'm really on. So, let's see if I'm actually on it. My channel. Oh, okay. So yeah, it's there. It's just having an issue on stream. So, unfortunately, if you're over on YouTube, this is public. Click the link to join. Says it's usually library. Got a little Pop-Tart eater over there. So, who are you talking to? They can't hear you. Jesus. Louises. So, yesterday was quite a day for me. It could be that same way today, but I don't know. We'll see here. See how today goes. So, real quick, when we're saying the words good, what do I mean by good? Fit for a role, right? So, here we have Hillsborough declines to prosecute 67 arrested in protest. Andrew Warren is the second state attorney in Florida to decline criminal charges en masse related to recent marches over the death of George Floyd. Now, why do I bring this article to the front today? Okay, let's see. Well, it's a state's attorney who's declining to prosecute 67 arrested in a protest. His name is Andrew Warren. Now, this goes to show that at any moment, a state's attorney could be on the news. Wow, interesting. I didn't know that, did I? Now, Mr. Warren here is actually protecting people's rights and interests. It's actually quite interesting. And you go, wait. I thought all these guys in the government are crooked. They're 67 people arrested in Florida. You would think this man would be prosecuting people if he was really, as crooked as you think he is. So, is he fit for his role? Did he do good? Hillsborough prosecutor will not bring formal charges against 67 people who were arrested in recent protests, State's Attorney Andrew Warren announced in a Monday news conference. To continue reading, subscribe. I don't pay for information, but it's really quite interesting to me. I guess we'll just use this as a nice little fluff story here. That this man has the power in his brain noodle to decide whether or not 67 people get put in a cage and charged with crimes and drugged through the legal system. That's a very powerful man. Because the opposite is true. While at the same time he could have decided to prosecute 67 people, he chose not to. Very, very interesting. So, do we call him a good state's attorney? What does that even mean? A good state's attorney. That's like irony, right? These are people that are supposed to make that money for the state, right? Think about 67 cases. 67 cases that he could have easily just thrown right down the poop chute and said, here you go, all y'all are getting charged. Why didn't he? See, that's where, again, a state's attorney has a lot of responsibility. Not only to know the difference between right and wrong, but to not participate in wrong. To not participate in violating people's rights or interests. And so, does this give me hope? Does this make me think that maybe there's some good out there? Maybe. Maybe. I don't know. Should I have hope? I don't know. What do you think? What do you think? So, Mr. Warren, protecting First Amendment rights. Interesting news story for that. So let's see here. Oh, here we go. So many of you have participated to one extent or another in this, but we're going to find out together that Zoom just gave free users frightening news. Uh-oh, nobody gets to use the free anymore. I'll bet you. Here we go. Here are 5 things that things in technology that happened in the past week and how it'll affect your business. Zoom just gave free users frightening news. Zoom announced this past week that those who use the video platform for free will no longer have encrypted calls, and that this new change will happen sooner than later. The reasoning behind this is, according to the company, this is that they want to be able to comply and work with local law enforcement agencies as well as the FBI in the event that Zoom could be used for malicious reasons. Those who use Zoom for free merely need to provide an email address, therefore not providing adequate information in order to help verify the identity of somebody. This new rollout will only provide that end-to-end encryption to individuals with full verifiable accounts. Now, why do I bring this one up? Well, not just because it was just there, but that right there is hilarious to me. So now, most of you know the Libertarian Party has decided that Zoom is the go-to platform. And look how quickly Zoom's like, here, government, take all the information you need from any of the free users you suspect of anything. Huh. Sounds like the party made a really dumb decision, because Zoom is, to me, again, I didn't really care what Zoom was. Zoom was like that thing that was like, ugh, man, I don't want it to sound like Facebook. Facebook is by far worse, I'm sure. But to me, people didn't really think this thing out. This company is making hand over fist money right now due to Corona season. And they don't want that money stream to go away. So what they're saying is that, hey, you're going to have to update and verify. But that makes you wonder, what communications are they monitoring? Make sense? Like, you could be a free user just using Zoom for free for your political party. Are you being watched? Is Zoom actually actively, engagingly spying on its audience or on its users for the government? It's very interesting when you think about it. Very interesting. So that's just another one of them stories. So I was gonna have 2 Supreme Court stories, and I hope I can get them real quick lined up for the day. Where was it? I think I have to go to my Facebook page to get it. That's fine too. That is definitely fine too. I want to make sure that I get this back to back. Oh, I guess I haven't even checked the comments here, huh? Let's see. Donnie says, be nice if they'd protect parental rights. Yeah, wouldn't it? That's the question. What metric defines good when discussing good cops, good judges, and politicians? Donnie, it's like you're reading my mind here. It's like you're understanding exactly where I'm coming from on why I chose good as our word of the day. Normally it's some awesome word that we can try to use it in sentences throughout the broadcast, but I felt like at some point we have to break it back down elementary style and just use a simple word that I hope everybody can understand. It would be really good if my audience knew how to articulate and understand the use of words. Adam, where did the beard go? In the trash, actually, and then probably to our local tax-funded city dump. and where it will sit there and, degrade, I guess. I mean, break down organically. But as you can already see, I got that 5 o'clock shadow. I can see it on the screen there, them whiskers poking out. And before you know it, it won't be too long before my beard is back and I'm rocking and rolling. So, that's where my beard went. Again, if anybody would like to join the conversation, this is an open discussion. You can click the link in the broadcast. Oh, this is a good one we're going to go over too here. Let me open this one in a new tab. Real quick, I commissioned a work of art, a masterpiece, a true masterpiece. And it was done by a man that is a literal genius. So this is done by Mr. Chris Napper. It's Corona season, riot season, Corona season, riot season, treason season. Yes, that is what the government fears. We are going to go back and forth between Corona riots, Corona riots, Corona riots. They don't want us looking at them. They don't want us going and saying, hey, who keeps putting up these hunting signs? And why does the public keep acting like they shouldn't be, excuse me? Well, actually, how about this? They act like the good sheep they are. They do exactly what they're supposed to do, predicted to, outraged to, because they don't have the mental faculties to realize who's actually doing this, who's pulling the strings. And believe me, the ones pulling the strings are really good at doing what they do. Really good. So, again, hilarious work of art masterpiece commissioned by Internet Warlords, done by Mr. Chris Napper. Just a lovely, in-your-face, awesome picture to depict the times that we live in. Mr. Napper, you are truly a genius and a master of your craft. So, back to, here's a good quote for the day, real quick. Oh, man. This is one that I really admire and appreciate. From a former slave owner and slave lover, actually. Thomas Jefferson, the writer of our beautiful, beautiful Constitution here. Educate and inform the whole mass of the people. They are the only, or not, did I say, yeah. Man, I'm a little tired. I think I need more coffee. Educate and inform the whole mass of the people. They are the only sure reliance for the preservation of our liberty. And you know what's funny about that? When you realize that the only way that we have in order to defend each other is by telling everybody what crimes the government commits. All right, I got a little fun one for you for some campaign news here. For those of you guys that don't know, Brian Breitling. Brian is the guy that's... Oh, crap. Brian is the guy that thinks he should be District 23 Senator. And Brian wrote me this lovely little email here that says, CJ, thanks for reaching out. Traditionally, there are no debates for district offices. What? Oh, this hurts my brain, Brian. How do people make informed decisions if they don't hear me and you have a conversation? If they don't hear us debating the topics that matter to our district, to our state, to our country, how do they make an informed decision? Honestly, I mean, it's one thing to just attack character. I could be like, why do you want Brian Breitling to be your representative? He's about as reachable as the moon when it comes to social media. It takes days to respond. Don't you think that we should be changing this, Brian? Don't you think that there should be something that that would be to the public to say, hey, you pick between these two. They talk, they have a discussion, they bring up issues that are at the forefront of everybody's mind. And what would you do if you were the state senator? And they can hear and compare to us and having a debate. Don't you think we should be setting that example? Traditionally, it doesn't happen, but you're not saying it can't happen. So you plan to continue meet and greets when and where possible, sharing your message that way. I honestly, I could have a meet and greet at the stop. I could go down to other counties. I could go down to other cities and just travel around. But the problem is that it's not like a big attraction versus that a debate would be. And I think that we could do it even online. Look, you can take up half my screen and we could just debate on the internet and then allow that to be put out there as like, hey, I could even get a moderator if you really need one. Or if we really need one, or we can pick a neutral one, somebody that's just going to ask some political questions, just so people can hear a debate. We're talking about our state Senate seat and we don't debate. This just makes no sense to me, Brian. It really doesn't. Is it because they pick and choose who is they're going to put into office? This is where, again, this is where traditionally they don't debate, because traditionally Democrats don't run out here. But you've got a new problem, a libertarian that's running out here. And not only that, a libertarian that knows this more than you. Not only knows this more than you, would love to debate you on this. Would love to discuss this and your role in what you believe it to be. Because, as I've been saying, Republicans protect corporate privileges and interests. And in this state, they also protect states' rights, or states' interests and privileges. States don't have rights, neither do corporations. So, Brian, this is really disappointing. I don't want to say, are you afraid to debate me? Honestly, if that's what it is, just type back in an email and say, hey, CJ, I'm afraid to debate you because I know that you're going to talk circles around me and you're going to expose the fact that I'm just a yes man that's begging for my attaboy. Anyways, this is another one I want to get to, hopefully, if I got time. Still got the show today for Adam versus the Man. Real quick, when they tell you what, when they ask you, when they ask me, CJ, when I go back in history and they're like, hey, CJ, why didn't you join the National Guard? This is why I didn't join the National Guard right here. I really like the one guy that's like really getting into it. This guy right here, he is really feeling the jam. Like he is too much into it. You almost want to question why he didn't join the Navy, to be honest. But yeah, that's why I didn't join the National Guard. It's a paid weekend vacation to stupid. It's dumb. Why would I want to be involved in that? Ugh. So, let's see here. There it is. All right, we've got two Supreme Court stories today. It's like a win for both sides. The Supreme Court was like, how do we make both sides happy? This is an opinion piece by Jennifer Finley Boylan. And it says that, oh, hold on here. It says the Harry Potter and the Scales of Justice. A little bit of good news in a dire month for LGBTQ people. All right. So I love how it says equal justice under the law here on the Supreme Court, and yet America definitely doesn't have equal justice under the law. On Monday, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of a LGBTQ plaintiff 6-3. And I believe that was because they cannot be fired for their sexual orientation. And so I'm not going to go through this long opinion article, but they cannot be fired to based on who they love. And listen, I don't care who you love, just don't hurt anybody. You know, that's pretty much the basic fundamental rule of life. Now, everybody had to win something on the other day. Supreme Court rejects cases challenging qualified immunity for police officers. Republicans are going, yay! Cops get to murder black people with immunity. Yes! And then they're like, huh? What'd you just say? I'm sorry, they get to murder people with immunity. Sorry, all lives matter. Racists. Racists. Cannot and will not defend them. But, yeah, law enforcement officers. The Supreme Court on Monday again turned away a slew of cases, revisiting the controversial legal doctrine that shields law enforcement and government officials from being sued for legal actions in an official capacity. The decision by the High Court comes against the backdrop of protests that have erupted across the nation, across the U.S., and again, we won't go into that, but the Supreme Court has for weeks been weighing numerous cases involving qualified immunity, the legal doctrine that protects government officials from lawsuits stemming from conduct on the job unless they violate, quote, clearly established constitutional rights. I go back to this thing here, and I go, you know, clearly established constitutional rights. Where do we have clearly established constitutional rights? I don't know. I don't know where it's clearly defined. Interesting. Interesting, to say the least. But qualified immunity for police officers in particular has come under heightened scrutiny in recent years, as it makes it more difficult for victims to hold law enforcement accountable for use of excessive force. Civil rights groups, lawmakers, and legal scholars have urged the Supreme Court to narrow the legal document, warning it allows police to act with impunity. So when I say the Republican Party wants people to be able to kill people with immunity and impunity, it's not me you should be mad at for saying the fact of the matter. It's the Supreme Court and the ones that want to murder people with impunity and immunity. That is a fact. One case the Supreme Court decided to review involved a Georgia police officer who shot a 10-year-old boy in the leg during pursuit of an unarmed suspect. The boy and the 5 other children were playing outside when officers ordered them to lie on the ground as they pursued the suspect in their yard. One of the officers, Michael Vickers, fired twice at the family's pet dog, which was also in the yard, missing both times. Oh, well, this one, you know, we had a guy out here in Eureka that shot a puppy, just a puppy in a yard, and it was like an ankle biter. He no longer works in this jurisdiction anymore. Not because of that, but that's another day. So, which was also our both time. But the second time he shot at the dog, he hit the young boy in the back of the knee. The boy's mom, Amy Corbett, sued, and Vickers asserted qualified immunity. The 11th Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals sided with Vickers, ruling he's entitled to qualified immunity. So, that is what qualified immunity does. It allows law enforcement officers to shoot 10-year-old boys in their yards playing with their friends and shoot at the family dog. And then they can claim qualified immunity and they get away with shooting a 10-year-old boy. And then you get mad at me when I say there's no such thing as a good cop in America anymore. It's not it's not that kind of law enforcement anymore, folks. It's the murder you with impunity and immunity and get away with it. That's what the world is that we live in. So, again, if you're just tuning in, this is an open discussion. You're allowed to click the button, join me backstage, and you can take up half my screen and tell me your thoughts of the day. So, that's just crazy. All right, so another legal battle involves Shanaz West, an Idaho woman who sued after police fired tear gas grenades into her house during a search for her ex-boyfriend, who they believed was inside. But West had given police permission to enter her home and handed officers the keys to get inside. A divided panel of the 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals ruled the officers were entitled to qualified immunity. So they can just shoot tear gas into your home with immunity. A third case involves a Tennessee man, Alexander Baxter, who was bitten in the armpit by a police dog after surrendering to Nashville police, who responded to a report of a residential burglary. The dog was released by one of the officers, Spencer Harris, after Baxter sat on the ground and raised his hands in surrender, according to the ACLU's petition with the Supreme Court. In that case, Justice Clarence Thomas dissented from the denial of centuria. See, there's a word that they just throw out there. They're like, blah, like writing that, quote, I continue to have some strong doubts about our 1983 qualified immunity doctrine as it appears to stray from the statutory text. At least there's at least one justice up there that's like, hey, I think that the qualified immunity was what they were using to, murder black men in the 60s. Still around there, Justice Thomas. Still around. They can still murder anybody. It don't matter the color of your skin, your gender, even your age. You could be a 10-year-old boy, a woman, a black man, a white man. It don't matter. Cops in America can kill you with immunity unless it is like so egregious that it is beyond a reasonable doubt that they went beyond the scope. So some of them cover their body cams. Some of them do things extrajudiciously, and they think, I'm going to get away with it because qualified immunity. You're telling them right off the bat. You're advertising. Now we're advertising to the public. Hey, you want to go be a cop? You can kill people with immunity. All you got to do is say you feared for your life, feared for your safety. Make a little white lie. That's what we're telling cops in America. That's what the Supreme Court just did. You can kill anybody you like and just claim that you were fearing for your life. And then there's at least one political party that will defend you no matter how heinous of an action you've committed. So when I say there's no such thing as good cops in America anymore, it has nothing to do with any of your individual feelings. Well, CJ, I know a good cop. I know one. I see your anecdotal evidence. And listen, Jason is a nice guy. I'll give it to that. He's funny at the barbecue. You know, he can play guitar and strum a cool tune. But when Jason puts on that uniform, he can kill anybody with immunity. There's no such thing as a good cop in America anymore. At all. There's no such thing as a good politician in America anymore, at least serving. So is that really equal justice under the law? So when at the front of our Supreme Court it says equal justice under the law, is that what they mean? That cops can kill and murder people with immunity and impunity? Is that really good for America? Is that really good? Is that what we want? Cops that can kill people with immunity? And then I tell you, there's no such thing as a good cop for that. We have to treat them all like they could possibly murder you. And then just make a false claim of, I feared. It's like you gave them a clear scapegoat to get away with murder. Now look what they're doing in Minneapolis. They overcharged the guy. He's going to walk. And you wait till the riots start in October before election. If the guys from Minneapolis walk right before the election, I think they got the message. I think they know next time that they need to burn down government buildings. They shouldn't be burning down Wendy's and Target. I think they realize by November, and it's safe to say that they'll organize en masse at Capitol buildings. They'll organize en masse and overwhelm your National Guard. So when your National Guard's sitting there doing the fucking Macarena instead of protecting politicians, you wonder why I didn't join the National Guard. Make no mistake about it. There's no such thing as a good cop in America anymore. In 2017, Thomas urged the court to reconsider its qualified immunity jurisprudence when it found an appropriate vehicle to do so. In writing, quote, until we shift the focus of our inquiry to whether immunity existed at common law. Is Justice Thomas a sovereign citizen? Because if you say those words on the internet, they're like, sovereign citizen, terrorist. We will continue to substitute our own policy preferences for the mandates of Congress. 1 year later, in 2018, Sotomayor wrote that a Supreme Court decision in favor of a Tucson, Arizona police officer, quote, tells officers they can shoot first and think later, and it tells the public that palpably unreasonable conduct will go unpunished. It's like I just got done telling you. They can kill you with immunity and impunity. There is no such thing as a good cop in America. We need to treat them all like they are perpetrators. People that can walk around and open carry with guns. That, again, this is why you will see more cops dying in the next 6 months. And again, it brings me no pleasure to say this. But if cops can kill with immunity, what you're going to witness is you're going to witness more cops dying. Fact. Because equal justice under the law says that there is no such thing as qualified immunity. You can't have equal justice under the law and qualified immunity at the same time. Those are contradicting statements. We might as well put on the Supreme Court qualified immunity for some, justice for a few, definitely not equal. And we can work on the phrasing for the new phrase that goes above the Supreme Court for sure. I'm telling you. So it's like I just got done telling you. They can kill you with immunity. Don't believe me. Believe the Supreme Court justices that just got done telling you that cops can kill you with immunity. And again, then you can take it to its next logical conclusion, which I'm saying is that there's no good cops left in America. Yes, Jason. Yes, we know you're really awesome at the barbecue. You can play that awesome guitar, but you can also go to your job and kill people and get away with it. So you're a cool guy outside of that uniform, but when you put that uniform on, we need to treat you like you could murder any one of us at any given time and have immunity to do so. There's a big difference. I'll never understand this stupid of this world. Again, if you're just tuning in and you want to join, you can click the link in the description and join the broadcast. Going on, the Supreme Court created qualified immunity decades ago, but in recent years, it has turned away other opportunities to reconsider the legal shield. I wouldn't even call it a shield at this point. I call it a force field, like a highly utilized force field by our current police force in America. A Rikers investigation, I don't know how you say that, published in May found that police won 57% of cases where they asserted qualified immunity from 2017 to 2019. While the High Court buffed the chance to reconsider the doctrine, lawmakers on Capitol Hill have called for limiting qualified immunity amid the civil unrest sparked by Floyd's death in May. Oh, well, like I said, it's really difficult to justify when they are getting away with qualified immunity more than half the time. So that means, let's say that over half the officers that murder people assert immunity and get away with it. The other 47% probably are ones thrown to the public to say, hey, you know, at the end of the day, we have to give the public something, you know, and that's what they do. They do the sacrificial lambs. Ladies and gentlemen, joining me backstage, the one, the only, Mr. Mike Ingram. Good morning, sir. How are you today?
Good. How are you, CJ?
I'm proving that there's no such thing as a good cop in America, and they can murder us with immunity and just claim it, and then have a 57% chance of getting away with that murder.
Yeah. Well, it reminded me when you were saying the catchphrase for justice for some, that kind of thing. It brings me back to the book Animal Farm, where the biggest quote, all are equal. Okay.
Go ahead.
All are equal. Some are more equal than others.
That's a good way to put it. Equality for all, but some are more equal than others. That's
we're living in that book right now.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy is that Jo Jorgensen, the Libertarian nominee, said that that's one of her favorites too.
Yeah, Animal Farm in 1984. Somebody has literally taken those and decided that's the new playbook. And it's been the playbook since the 50s.
Yeah, well, and what really blows my mind is that, I mean, how do you explain that to the public, that officers have the right to shoot you, shoot first, ask questions second, and then claim some kind of sovereign immunity, while at the same time, these are the people that go after quote-unquote sovereign citizens. Again, I know oxymoron for those that get offended by that term who have been claimed to be that or whatnot. But again, that's what the government calls these people that assert their sovereign immunity and their rights. And so here are these law enforcement officers claiming essentially a sovereign immunity to the law.
Yep.
Are they not the sovereign citizens? Are they not the domestic terrorists that they claim to be protecting us against?
Exactly. And I mean, who enforces the enforcers? Who polices the police?
What do you do when it's the police that are murdering you? Who do you call?
Exactly. You really can't call anybody. There's nothing set up.
I mean, Ghostbusters, because you're about to be a ghost.
Right.
And then guess what? That officer has a greater than 50% chance of being, and I'm sure it varies by state, especially I would say in more red states. It's safe to say that qualified immunity number is going to be a little higher. In the blue states, it might be a little lower.
Yep. Now, I need to give you an example of the difference between a red state and a blue state, just from my personal experience over the weekend. I traveled over to Montana this last week, and what a complete and total 180 from Washington, as far as going into any kind of public place. Nobody over there is wearing a mask. Here,
what, they don't have coronaphobia in Montana?
Oh man, the bars were packed. They were doing karaoke. It was a party.
So
You know?
now all of a sudden you're seeing that in some places your profession is alive and well.
Yep. And I'm sitting here at
Meanwhile,
home.
and you're sitting there at home. It makes you
Yep.
go, what the fuck?
Exactly. It's absolutely crazy the difference between the two states, and the way the police are handling it out there is vastly different than over here. There were protesters downtown in Missoula with signs. They said Black Lives Matter, the whole 9 years. Not a single police presence. Nothing. Um, and the people were standing on the sidewalks. They were holding their signs. The courthouse was boarded up, but there was nobody there to defend it at all. And there's absolutely no graffiti. I mean, they were even picking up their garbage. The lawns looked immaculate. um, but the police aren't out there pushing these rioters. And it's almost like, the police are instigating the violence.
You don't say. It's almost like they're following orders. They're realizing that we're telling them through the mainstream they can assault, they can batter, they can up to include shoot people and have no consequences for those actions, and just assert a doctrine that is now fresh on everybody's mind that they have immunity for these actions. And we just told that to the entire police force
Yep,
all
exactly.
across the nation through the Supreme Court. You don't think they're all waking up today going, huh, I can shoot who I want, when I want, and how I want, and all I gotta do is say I feared for my life? Oh, okay. Okay.
It reminds me of that old South Park episode where you have to yell, "It's coming right for us," before you shoot it. You know? Mhm.
Right? It's almost like they're ahead of their time.
Right? Between The Simpsons and South Park, man, I mean, those were supposed to be comedies, ridiculous scenarios that could never happen.
Not our everyday political Monday.
Exactly. And we're living in that.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And I'm wondering how they're going to spin this for the elections in November.
Well, then here's what we do. We boldly predicted. Here's what I predict. Chauvin's going to get off because they overcharged him. Riots are going to kick off again. They're going to say it's the super corona season. Nobody's going to give a fuck, and we're all going to go to war with the government. All of us infected with coronavirus and going to war against cops that can kill with immunity. And the only way to fight an equal or greater than force is with equal or greater than force. So I think what they're doing is literally setting the stage. Now, let me ask you this. Does this sound like, America? Or does this sound like I'm about to start listing off a bunch of usurpations that the king was doing? And again, I go back to the Declaration of Independence, and I go through this long pages of all the crimes that the king was committing and his people were committing over the years that made us say, fuck you, we need a new country, and we're going to kill every one of you with a red coat on.
Well, it's almost like everybody needs to pick up any book on North Korea. Just pick it up, peruse it, okay, and kind of look at their history a little bit. We are pulling straight from that playbook right now. The police force can act without thinking, blindly follow orders, and you're perfectly fine doing so. Okay, which is going to embolden the police force. Okay, as long as one person is giving the orders at the top, everybody else is fine. Well, what about that one person at the top? Well, they are our supreme leader now, so we can't question anything they do. They're stripping the voice from the public. They're stripping the media of their privileges.
Actually, media has rights. Government has privileges.
No, true. They're stripping the rights from the media.
And giving rights to the government, which again is insane to me. It's like you're giving the government the right to immunity. You would never hear the people having the right to immunity.
Yeah, exactly.
But the government thinks that it has the right to immunity in 2020.
Mm-hmm. Now there was a case just
Wow.
recently out here on the Tulalip Indian Reservation. I heard it on the radio on the way home yesterday, where they are joining with the Snohomish County Police Force now. All the Tulalip Indian police are being deputized as Snohomish County police officers.
Well, there goes their sovereignty.
Right. I go back to the treaty, and oh gosh, what was the name of that treaty now?
They know it. Don't worry. You're good.
Yeah. Okay. But the treaty says that reservations are a sovereign nation, they police themselves, okay?
Mhm.
But it does not give them rights on U.S. soil. Okay? Now here's the other thing. Tulalip PD is deputizing Snohomish County.
Ah, there goes the treaty. It is no longer a sovereign nation.
Exactly. So the police forces are combining. The casino and the Outland Mall that's here on the tribal reservation, when there was quote unquote threats that there was going to be Antifa coming down here, because they're a huge shadow organization of some sort.
The boogeyman.
Right. You had State Patrol, Snohomish County, local law enforcement, and you had Tulalip PD all defending a sovereign nation. On top of that, you had tribal members.
I would say they've given up their sovereignty by breaking their own treaty.
Yep. You have Tulalip tribal members out there on ATVs carrying AR-15s doing policing as well. So, I mean...
So it's like vigilantes now. They have vigilantes and then they have deputies.
Yep. Now, if I wanted to go down there as an American citizen, I was barred from the area. But if I had a tribal ID, I could come in with an AR-15 and my quad or my side-by-side, and I could help defend. But they would take help from...
It's like they want to play Antifa and murderers. Like, I don't think Antifa showed up, did they?
Nope.
Because it's a boogeyman. Antifa is a boogeyman. Like, really, honestly.
They wound up arresting 20 individuals for trespass. I was looking at the police records on it.
Yeah, but I'll bet you that some of those are like, hey man, I was just thinking I could go to the casino. What the fuck are you guys all playing Antifa and Indians for?
Yeah, and it was one of those things where, they were saying that thousands of people were going to descend on this area, and they only arrested
because media is lying to the people in order to do this shit.
Oh, but there was a post on Facebook that said it.
Oh, because if it's on the internet, it's fucking true, huh?
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah. How do you say it again one more time, Mr. Ingram, before I let you go here? Equal what?
All are created equal. Some are more equal than others.
That's probably what we should be putting on our Supreme Court building, not equal justice for all.
Right.
Mr. Ingram, it's been a pleasure. Yeah, man. We'll talk to you again soon. Thanks for coming on, sir. Oh, man. So, I got to read one more thing here before we wrap up our story here about qualified immunity. A sweeping police reform package introduced by House Democrats last week, which, again, it wasn't introduced by House Democrats. This was spearheaded by the Libertarian in Congress, Justin Amash, last week's reforms doctrine, so victims can easily recover damages when their constitutional rights are violated by police. And GOP Senator Mike Braun of Indiana said last week he is considering pushing for an end to qualified immunity. We have tripartisan support in the legislation to get rid of qualified immunity. But legislation restricting the doctrine could face an uphill battle. White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany, I don't know how you say her name, told reporters last week that reducing immunity for police who violate civil rights is a non-starter. So when I tell you the President of the United States wants to allow people to murder people with immunity, you don't get mad at me. The president wants it. His secretary is the one saying, no, it's a non-starter. Republican Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, who's the leading Republican efforts on police reform, said on Face the Nation, on Sunday that limiting qualified immunity would be a poison pill for legislation. So, when I tell you that there's no good cops in America, I mean it. When I tell you Donald Trump has no problem with cops murdering people with immunity, I mean it. Is this really good for the nation? Is it really good to tell the public that cops can murder you with immunity and just tell your family they just feared for their safety? Even though the body cam footage might be in question, unless they clearly violated some constitutional right, like, I don't know, due process? You'd think extrajudicious murders in there somewhere? I don't get it. I don't get where we think that this is okay. This certainly isn't good for America. To tell some people that they have immunity and are above the law, I pledge allegiance to the flag. Where does that end? With liberty and justice for all. With no liberty and justice for some and qualified immunity for others. They have fundamentally changed what we believe America is supposed to be. Is this how America is supposed to be great? I don't see this as something that's great. Not even good. Not even good. It's at the end of the day, it's not even good. And we've already gone through the definition of good today. We know that it doesn't fit any of these categories for our country. For police to be able to murder. And you know what? Here's the truth, and this is where a lot of people are missing the ball. If you end qualified immunity for law enforcement, lawyers and judges all across this nation, the bar, knows that they're next. And if they don't protect the police from being able to murder people, what do you think they're doing in our courts? They're doing way worse in our courtrooms behind closed doors where the public can't see. Welcome again, everybody, to the Court of Admiralty. Have a good day or don't. The choice is always yours.
Welcome